All right, everything's hooked up, I believe, fingers crossed. What I want to do right now is to try to start it for the first time, see if it runs normal, if it runs weird. Welcome back to another episode of Bro Premier, guys. If you are new to the channel and you like seeing cars go from being worth $500 to $5,000 in a short amount of time, then you're in the right place. Make sure to go down, smash the subscribe button, click the notifications bell. This way you get alerted every time I put out a video. Also, if you're new to the channel, we've previously been working on my 2005 Hyundai Tucson that I picked up for $700. I got it that cheap because when I first bought it, it had a horrible paint job. Basically, there was no clear coat left on the car. So I ended up sanding it down and spray painting the whole thing out here in the street and then doing a clear coat as well. The other main reason why I got it so cheap was because the engine was definitely either at a time or something wrong where it had multiple misfires all going on at the same time. It just wouldn't stay running even to get it home. I ended up having to punch the gas, shift it between neutral and drive at every stop sign just to keep it revving high so that it would stay alive. But finally, when I ended up getting home, I also discovered that the guy who replaced the head gasket did it wrong. Ended up pouring oil all over the block down here, made a giant mess. In fact, there's probably still a spot below that you can see the old puddle. So that was one of the things I realized is he tried to do the head gasket. He admitted that he might have got the timing wrong, but thought he had the head gasket perfect. Upon taking off the head, it was barely torqued down. I want to say maybe 5 pounds of pressure on every bolt, which was insane. So definitely he installed the head gasket wrong. Then after I got the head gasket off, I could also see that he didn't even clean the surface of the block. So there was just a bunch of reasons why it was running so crappy. I ended up finding out that it was still mixing oil to coolant, coolant to oil. Once I pulled off the head gasket, we'd actually see grit from old rust material from when they put in regular water into the engine block. Probably part from the water pump as well that we ended up replacing in the last episode, maybe the episode before that. If you saw, the water pump was completely crusty. I mean, it was the worst water pump I've ever seen, and I've done probably about 10 at this point. But regardless, we were almost done completing this in the last episode. I ended up getting the head on, torqued all the bolts down, put the camshafts in, torqued them down, timed up the timing chain correctly, timed up the timing belt correctly, then put on the valve cover, torqued all that down. So my goal for this episode is to get this thing running for the first time since I started doing all the engine work. There's a lot of little things left. Most of it's just hooking up hoses everywhere, hooking up some connectors. I also have to do the thermostat along with the housing. This is all disconnected right now, but I want to replace the gasket on the back of the housing, replace the gasket on the front for the thermostat, install that, then hook up all the connectors, hook up all the coolant pipes that are laying around in here. They're just chilling. Once all that's hooked up, top it back all off with coolant, give it a quick run, make sure it runs good. Then I want to change the oil eventually within the next couple of miles. I do want it to run, kind of get everything crap out that it can, then change the oil and do it again. But first, where I want to start is I want to start with that thermostat housing. I might try to take it off because it'll be easier to work on if I can get it off. But first, I want to start with the intake manifold. I was never able to finish it in the last episode. It just started getting dark, and the nuts on this thing, I have to get like back here, all the way back, and then back up to right in here underneath this thing. Try to reach one little nut, torque them all down, get them to spec. So I'm gonna get started with that, and then I'll probably start tackling the fuel pump immediately after. So that's my goal. Let's get at it. All right, the intake manifold is on, the fuel injectors are in, the fuel line's in, the fuel injectors are plugged up. I started to tighten down the throttle cable. I don't want to touch it just in case I do have to move it again. But my next goal I think that I'm going to attack is the thermostat area. Originally I was going to leave this in, but there's just no space to actually work on it. So I need to remove these hoses way back here, which I really am regretting I didn't do this earlier. Yeah, it's just gonna be a bit of a pain to try to get this out, clean it up, put it back together. So yeah, that's my goal for right now. Take this off, clean the gasket off, put a new gasket on, put that back on. Fingers crossed. I will probably do the thermostat as well while I'm in there just to make it easier. But I think right now I might take out the whole air intake, everything, just to get as much space as I can around it to get that thing out. So anyway, I'm gonna get started. See you guys in a bit. All right guys, the thermostat housing is in, the thermostat is in. I ended up not putting any of the sealant on the housing itself because the gasket that came with it was like a thermopaste gasket. I think that's what it's called, thermopaste, but it's like the silvery, almost like a mercury that squishes down. I doubt it's mercury, but that's the thing that came to my head. But anyway, I was able to put it back on, get all the hoses hooked back up, hook up the two hoses that go to the intake manifold. I always thought that was weird that some of the cars used to do that, run coolant to the intake manifold. Anyway, that's all hooked up, everything back to the radiator is hooked up. I ended up hooking up all the extra cables that go to the intake manifold as well. I think while I have all this space open, I want to hook up the coil pack and all the spark plug wires. After that, I'm probably gonna tighten down the throttle cable. So that's my goal for right now. I'm gonna get started. Talk to you guys in a bit. All right, the coil packs are put in, the wires are all plugged up, I believe, at least most of them. The throttle cables are tied down, and I ended up plugging in the variable valve timing solenoid along with the oil pressure regulator switch, I believe that is. So I think everything electronic at this point is done except for putting the battery on, plugging in the mass airflow sensor. So I think the last thing I'm gonna do right now is to put back in the airbox, plug in the mass airflow sensor, put on the battery, and then I also want to tie down this cover to the timing belt. Then I think it'll be time for the first start. I'll probably top it off with coolant at first as well, and then it'll be time for the first start. So I'm gonna get started with that. See you guys in a bit. everything's hooked up, I believe, fingers crossed. What I want to do right now is to try to start it for the first time, see if it runs normal, if it runs weird, if there's any weird noises, all that. So I'm gonna probably do a few little pranks, not totally start it, kind of see if anything's hitting or dinging anything. Oh, it's running pretty good. Hell yeah. Power window works on the door. Beautiful. Oh, we got a water leak. Okay, so there's definitely a water leak coming from either the radiator or hose going to the radiator. I don't know what it is, but definitely a leak. The exhaust manifold is smoking, probably the new gasket. It's the same thing that freaked me out the last time on the Audi. Same exact smell too. But compression sounds good, timing sounds good. Let's see if it's idled down yet. Hasn't idled down yet, still getting up to temperature. So just the fact that this thing is still running and I don't have to hit the gas means the timing's much better. First time I picked this thing up, we got it started for a second and I had to rev the gas hard to keep it up. At least $2,000, maybe $3,000 to keep it running. So just the fact that I turned it, cranked it, and it's running by itself, we're far ahead.
Moments later.
That sounds not good. What is that noise? I think my bearing for my belt might be too tight or just going right now. Kind of want to take something on the edge of it and see. Oh, it's not that. Something else is making noise. And now the sound's going away. Interesting. See if she's idling yet. All right, no check engine lights. It's under 1,000 RPM. It's a very good sign. You guys can see that. So far, I'm calling this a success. Feeling pretty good. I ended up putting regular water in here just to kind of flush the system, especially with all that rusty water that was in there. I want to try to get that out, get all the sediment, everything that was in there out of the base of this thing, refill it. There definitely is a water leak for sure. Weirdly, it's kind of gone right now. I think there's some hoses to something down here, but that might be transmission lines. I don't know, that or the radiator's cracked, which I wouldn't be surprised with all that rust and sediment that I might need a radiator now, but it's running good. It's running really good. I think I might have to check the wiring on this variable valve timing solenoid along with this oil pressure sending unit switch, whatever it is. I'm a little nervous because that sound, that to me sounds like the cam is not getting enough oil. There could be some little bit debris of rust left in there. Oh, the fan's kicking on, that's good. The engine's getting hot. Yeah, I'm concerned about that. I'm gonna call it in for now. I'm gonna turn it off. I don't wanna cause any more damage if there is any. I wanna check into that a little bit. All right, so I'm not quite sure what that sound is. I'm a little nervous about it. So I'm gonna check out the wiring on that variable valve timing solenoid along with the oil pressure sending unit sensor, whatever the heck it is. But right now, I think I'm gonna throw, man, what is that noise? Right now, it sounds like there's air leaking from somewhere. Almost like a boiling pot. A little tiny pinhole of air is coming from somewhere and I can't figure it out. Anyway, I think what I'm gonna do right now is throw the engine cover back on this thing, along with, I think there's a part of an airbox missing that I'm gonna try to find. And then I also want to throw on, there's a heat shield cover for this exhaust manifold. I wanna throw that on. It's basically just tidy up the engine bay. So anyway, I'm gonna get started. Talk to you guys in a bit. engine cover is on, the exhaust manifold cover is on. A lot's kind of happened since I was last taping. I ended up finding out the noise to the engine, so then I felt comfortable putting on everything on top of the engine. Ended up being the timing belt tensioner. I tied it a little too tight, so I just had to back it off a tiny smidge bit. Sounds completely gone, so I feel very confident. I'm gonna show you that in a second. But the other thing that I had an issue with was I didn't have any bolts, or I can't find the original bolts that mounted this heat shield onto the exhaust manifold. So I kind of had to take some that I stole from the other door, from the door jambs, cut them down, put a couple washers on them, and now it's on there. The other thing was the guy was supposed to have the bolts for this top in the back. I couldn't find those either, so I had to kind of scrounge through all my extra hardware, find a couple of bolts that fit up to put the engine cover back on. But now I think the engine bay is done. Of course, I'm gonna give it a nice wash because it's disgusting, and I wish I had done that before I did all this work. It would have been a lot cleaner job. Fortunately, I didn't. But anyway, I'm gonna show you how it sounds now that the tensioner is fixed. So that little whistling, whiny sound is finally gone. It was coming from this area, I knew it, but I'm gonna kind of rev it. So it's good. I'm content. There's no more little squealing from it. Anyhow, guys, I think that is going to wrap up this episode of Bro Premiere. My brother is actually in town, and he's been working on his motorcycle back here. I was going to show you guys some, but I don't think he knows what he's doing, so I figured I'd save you the save you the headaches. No, honestly, he's just been working. I've been trying to help him find a sprocket for his bike, and then just kind of ran out of time. But yeah, guys, if you haven't yet, make sure to go down, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Everyone who hit the like button last time really did help a ton. Thank you so much. It really is that little bit of support. It helps the followers grow and people to find it, and it's really all you need to do is support. So if you do want to support and you haven't yet, hit the like button. I appreciate it. I think I'm gonna wrap up here. We're gonna go out to dinner soon. Need to clean up. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will catch you again on Sunday. Later, guys.